Madam Speaker, as the Honourable Lady indicated, we're all frankly getting a bit fed up with the theatrics in this chamber, and if I'm honest with the Minister, it feels like the whole House is being played. He shows up, he mouths the words, full of condemnation and being appalled, and very occasionally the government leaks out just enough sanctions, frankly, I'm afraid, colleagues, to keep the Labour benches from open revolt. And yet, since he last appeared, as others have mentioned, 22 new settlements announced, and the Israeli government has replaced the UNRWA distribution system with a shooting gallery, an abattoir, where starving people are lured out through combat zones to be shot at. If the situation were reversed, we would now be mobilising, quite rightly mobilising, the British Armed Forces as part of an international protection force. So here's my question. What's the difference?
Minister.
Great question. I hope the honourable member will forgive me. He talks of theatrics, where I come to the House and provide an update, and he delivers a speech saying that we should do more. I just want to remind him and remind the House that the Labour government has a profoundly different position towards these issues than the Conservative government before us. We have taken a series of steps, most recently on the 20th of May. Whether...
Order. Minister.
We have taken steps. We will continue to take steps. We have led the international community in the most recent of those steps. And I and we are under no illusion of the severity of the situation that we face.
Desmond Swayne.
Studied ambiguity of what and when has had no impact on Israeli policy. We want to know, and Israel needs to know, precisely what the government means by further steps.
The honourable member will appreciate that in our private discussions with Israel we have been very clear of the depth of feeling across the whole country and indeed in this House, and that further steps will be coming and the nature of them.
Madam Deputy Speaker, I concur entirely with the views expressed by the two Privy Councillors on these backbenches that have already spoken. We have for weeks been listening to fine words from the opposition front bench, the government front bench. And we've seen a lot of hand-wringing, and we've seen a vast amount of inactivity. Yeah. And the question everybody is asking in this chamber of the Minister is when? Yeah. Yesterday, the Minister knows this, 4 of us tried to deliver a letter to Downing Street, calling for the immediate recognition of the State of Palestine. We weren't even allowed to deliver that letter. The time has come to act now. There is a route from Larnaca in Cyprus straight into Gaza. Use it. Let's save these children.
Minister.
I thank the honourable gentleman for the force of his remarks. I would just remind the House, this is, and I hear so many colleagues say that they are fed up with my words, which is gentle. But on the 20th of May, we announced concrete actions. I am telling the House this afternoon that further actions will come if there are not changes. And I will return to the House when I am in a position to do. I hear everybody's frustration, but let us not pretend that the UK's position has not changed, that it has not continued to change, and it will continue to change while the situation remains as it is.
Mark Pritchard.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. The Minister says he hears the frustration of the House, but does the government hear the cries of the orphan children of Gaza? Hear the cries of the children that have had their loved ones blown to bits literally in front of their eyes, who will be maimed for life? Now, I've been at many of these statements before, and I'm grateful for what the Minister said, and I'd like to also put on the record I'm grateful for what our Shadow Foreign Secretary said today as well. But the reality is that aid is not getting through. There were 400 UN stations before. There's only now a handful. They're in combat zones, and people are unable to access that aid. And every single day, men, women and children are being impacted through lack of food and access to aid, access to medical supplies, and actually access to fuel to actually cook some of this food, some very practical issues. So can I ask the Minister what more he can do with the Americans to ensure that this new way of delivering aid, which I, by the way, don't support, it should be the UN, but if that is going to be the case, that there are more aid stations in more places so more people can access it in order that we save lives?
Minister.
Madam Deputy Speaker, I'm grateful for the honourable gentleman's words. There are clearly profound issues with this new aid distribution mechanism. That is not just the view of the British government, it is clearly the view of the GHF themselves, given that they have suspended operations after 3 very bloody days, where clearly, exactly as the honourable gentleman says, there are insufficient aid distribution centres, very dangerous crowds, and we have seen terrible violence associated with these distributions. I would be very happy if there was a mechanism in place at this moment that could provide aid properly, but there exists, waiting on the outskirts of Gaza, in Al-Arish and elsewhere, a United Nations operation with 18 months of experience, yet longer than that, of doing this properly and making sure that everybody gets the aid that they need. We must not delay. We have both the aid and the delivery partners. We should let them in.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Speaker. The policy of successive UK governments has been that the United Kingdom will recognise the state of Palestine when it's conducive to the peace process and to the ultimate realisation of the two-state solution. Up to this point, I have accepted the argument that the Minister and his predecessors have made that that moment has not yet come. But hasn't the balance shifted decisively with a succession of moves to greater territorial change in the West Bank by increased settlement activity and by increasingly blunt and frequent statements of members of the Israeli government that we are going to restrict Palestinians to a subset of Gaza or restrict Palestinians from Gaza altogether? That's what's changed my mind, such that I now believe it's necessary for the UK, hopefully in conjunction with others, to recognise the state of Palestine urgently. Why has it not yet changed the government's mind?
Minister.
The honourable gentleman, Madam Deputy Speaker, makes a very powerful point. And one of the reasons why the traditional positions of UK governments and many other governments across the world has been that the recognition of a Palestinian state should come at the end or during a two-state solution process was the hope that we would move towards a two-state. Many minds have been changed, like the honourable gentleman's, because of the rhetoric of the Israeli government, the clear statements by so many that they are no longer committed to a two-state solution. We see in the press many representatives of the Israeli government criticising others for considering their position in relation to a Palestinian state. Exactly as the honourable gentleman says, it is the action of this Israeli government that has made so many, including ourselves, review our position on these matters.